I was wanting to further clarify when Ramana Maharshi, in his later, in the latter part of his appearance, his lifetime in the world, and he developed a cancer in the body, or the body developed a cancer. Was that the prārabdha of the body that still had to be experienced, although presumably the understanding that he knew himself, that he knew was really the truth about himself, was never underwent any such experience.
Right. The first thing to understand is what we take to be, the person we take to be Ramana Maharshi exists only in our view, not in his view. In his view, he experiences himself as, well, he is pure awareness and he experiences himself as pure awareness. In the view of pure awareness, there is nothing other than pure awareness. So what we are seeing as this world and so many bodies, so many people and everything, he sees as himself, as the one indivisible whole. So what we see as many, he sees as one. And that one is the only one that actually exists. So his experience is beyond the grasp of our mind, because the mind can grasp only multiplicity, differences, and so on. Whereas that oneness that underlies all these appearances, the screen on which all these appearances appear and disappear, and the screen on which not only the appearances appear and disappear, even the one who sees the appearances appears and disappears. That is, our self is ego. So his experience is something way beyond anything the mind can grasp. If we want to understand, although understand is not really the appropriate word, but just to use the word metaphorically, if we want to understand his state, we have to be in it. In other words, to understand him, we have to be him. And he is what we always actually are. So in other words, we have to be what we actually are. So it's first very necessary to understand that in his view, there is no body and world. So there's no cancer or anything. But in our view, because we experience ourselves as a body, in our view, he seems to be a body. He seems to be a person just like us. Why does he appear as a person? Because he is our own reality. He is what we actually are. But because our attention is facing outwards, our own self has to appear outwardly in the form of Guru, in the human form of Guru, in order to tell us to turn back within. That was the purpose of that body. According to the story we read, in the early stages of his life, there was a young boy called Venkataraman, who was outwardly much like every other young boy. He liked playing football. He liked games, and he was just outwardly in most respects he was much like every other small boy. But obviously there was a difference inwardly. But outwardly he's much like every other boy. That the ego that was aware of itself as I am Venkataraman was actually a very mature soul. So when that intense fear of death came to him at the age of 16, he turned within to investigate who he was. That ego then died. All the three karmas exist only for ego. Ego is the doer of agamya, and the fruit of agamya is stored in sanchita, and a selection of it is allotted as prārabdha for each lifetime. So the sanchita and prārabdha are the fruit of actions done by ego. So the ego is the doer of the actions and the experiencer of the fruit. When ego dies, all the three karmas cease to exist along with it. As Bhagavan said, if a husband has three wives, if the husband dies, all three wives become widows. Because in the context in which Bhagavan said that, it is sometimes said, but for the jnani, the agamya and the sanchita is destroyed by jnana, but the prārabdha remains for the duration of the body. Bhagavan said that is a reply given to the question of others. Those who take the jnani to be still the body, yes, okay, it seems that there is a prārabdha, but actually, the one who did the karmas and the one who could have experienced the fruit died at that day in 1896, July 1896. So what remained then, the person that remained then, exists only in our view. And what shone through that person is nothing but God or Guru or our own real nature. God, Guru, and our own real nature are one and the same. So it is ourself as we actually are, but appeared in the form of Bhagavan Ramana, and the light that shone through that body, the love and the clarity and everything, that is all our own real nature appearing to us outwardly in order to tell us to turn within. So whatever happened in the life of that body from there onwards, we can say it is prārabdha, but that's a rather unsatisfactory answer. But the only satisfactory answer we can give, that is the divine will. That is, it is divine grace alone that shone through that body, and every action of that body was according to grace and grace alone, because there was no individual there with any will of its own. There was no individual there to experience everything. So whatever was done by that body and mind, but we take to be Bhagavan, was done only by grace. And what is grace? Grace is nothing but the infinite love, but we, as we actually are, have for ourselves as we actually are. It is grace alone but appears outwardly in the form of Guru to tell us to turn within. That's why Bhagavan often used to say, grace is the beginning, the middle, and the end. It is grace that kindles an interest in this spiritual path in our hearts. It is grace that motivates us to follow this path. It is grace that appears outwardly in the form of Bhagavan to show us the path. It is grace that supports us throughout. It's grace that we wouldn't have the slightest inclination to turn within if it wasn't for grace. In fact, the inclination to turn within is itself a manifestation of grace within us. So, and finally, when we do turn within fully and merge back into our source, it is grace alone that will swallow us, and grace alone will remain. Grace is nothing other than ourselves. Grace is our own real nature.
Thank you. Thank you. That was quite remarkable.
Well,
thank you very much.
All thanks to Bhagavan, because I haven't said anything of my own. This is only what I've learned from Bhagavan. So that is what Bhagavan has revealed to us is so deep and so subtle, but at the same time so simple. If we are ready to remove all other ideas and beliefs and assumptions out of our mind and open our heart to his teachings, to consider carefully what he has taught us, and that it is not difficult for us to convince ourselves of the truth of his teaching, because they are so simple, so rational, and so much based on our own experience. It is very easy for us to accept it. And the more we put his teachings into practice, the clearer they become. So it is anything I say, if there's anything of value in anything I say, if there's any clarity in anything I say, it is only coming from him, not from me. I'm just like everyone else. I'm just a a rather immature aspirant, but Bhagavan has sown a seed of love in my heart. That's all I can say. So it's all only his doing. It's nothing to do with me.
Real quick, Michael, a real quick thank you to giving us an extra Christmas present under the illusory tree in our living room. And that is, I've heard so many definitions of grace. Many are fine. Some are beautiful. Some sad. Yours is the best I've ever heard. So just to recapitulate here, it's self, true self, sort of nudging the fictional self to look inward, to look towards truth.
Precisely.
But it's also grace to be able to recognize that nudge. So it's like a double whammy.
Everything is grace. Everything is grace. When we know what we actually are, we will know that grace alone is what exists, and we are that. There is nothing other than grace. And what is grace? Grace just means love. Because love is our very nature. We have infinite love for ourselves. And that infinite love for ourselves, now we have limited ourselves. So now our love seems to be very limited. Oh, I like this, I dislike that. All this comes out of the root limitation, I am this body. Because we've limited ourselves as a body, our own real nature seems to be very limited. So our infinite love that we actually are appears as likes and dislikes, desires, attachments, and so on. But the more we turn within, the more we will see that love alone is what is real. And that love is what we refer to as grace.
And the best definition I'd ever heard up until today was that grace is unearned merit. But that would make me very special, and nobody is special. So I'm glad to switch over to a different definition.
If it's unearned, it's not merit. If it's merit, that implies you did something to merit it. But we haven't done anything to merit it. How can, whatever we do, all actions are finite. Grace is infinite. How can any finite action earn grace? Earning grace is not necessary. Grace is ever present. Grace is ever shining in our heart as eye. All we need to do is to yield ourselves to it. We yield ourselves to it by turning within. So long as we're turning outwards, we are obstructing grace. When we turn within, we are yielding ourselves to grace. That is the true surrender.
Michael, might I ask a question?
Yes.
What's the relationship between effort and grace?
Ultimately, they are one and the same. Whatever effort we seem to be making, it is driven only by grace. That is, all effort is driven. The things we like, we make effort for those things. If we like a particular thing, if we want, supposing we have a liking for money, we'll make great effort to earn a lot of money. If we have liking for name and fame, we'll do all we can to get name and fame. So it is liking, it is desire that drives all efforts. The effort we make to turn within is driven by the love just to be as we actually are. That love to be as we actually are is itself grace. That is, whatever liking we have to turn within and just to be as we are, that is nothing but grace.
Will there come a point when effort falls away and we're just...
Effort is necessary up to the very end. Until ego is destroyed, effort is necessary, because the nature of ego is to always be looking outwards, always trying to grasp things other than itself. So effort is necessary until ego is destroyed. Then there's no one left to make any effort. But the more our love grows, the less it will seem like effort. Supposing you have great liking for something, supposing you like football, and you try to go to every Saturday, you try to go to watch your favorite team playing and everything, do you feel it's an effort to go buy the tickets and drive your car there and go there and sit in the stadium? If you were not interested, it would be a big bother. Why should I waste my money on this? Why should I go? But so it would seem to be a great effort. If someone says, oh, come along, you'll very reluctantly make the effort and come just to please your friend. But if you're interested in it, it doesn't seem like effort at all. So but effort seems like effort, so long as we don't have, so long as our love is insufficient. When we have sufficient love, it won't seem like effort at all. We will be making effort, but it won't seem like an effort because it's whatever we like doing never seems to be an effort, does it? True. Do we feel it's an effort to eat? No, because we like eating. We need to eat to live, so we don't feel it's an effort. We all eat quite naturally. It doesn't, oh, today again, I've got to eat today. What a big bother. Nobody feels like that. When hunger comes, we eat because of the motivation. So if we feel this is a struggle, as most of us do, to turn within, it is because we still lack sufficient love. But the only way to cultivate the love is to try to turn within. The more we try to turn within, the more our liking to go outwards will be weakened and our liking to go inwards will be strengthened. So the effort is still there, but it will seem less and less like effort.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
All right.
Can I ask something a little
certainly.
further? Taking what you were saying about going within and turning from outward to in.
Yes.
My current experience of that is that it seems as if the more that I recognize everything that is appearing as being the one infinite self in infinite manifestation, that the distinction between inward and outward is becoming more and more. There's less and less boundary.
Yes. That is true in a sense, but that is the distinction between inside and outside can be dissolved only by our turning within. Because so long as we are allowing ourselves to look outside, there seem to be many things. So long as there seems to be many things, we are not experiencing the one. We may have an idea, we may see a sort of oneness in it, but we're still experiencing as many. The one that we actually are, the one that actually exists, is indivisible. It has no parts. It is described in the Upanishads as ekam eva advaitiyam, one only without a second. That is why this philosophy is called Advaita. There is no second. There is only one. So it's so long as we see the many, we are not seeing the one. So when we see the one, we will not see the many. But it is true, the more we turn within, the more these differences seem less and less real. So the distinction between inside and outside is dissolved to the extent to which we turn within, but it will be dissolved completely only when we merge completely within. That's why in one place Bhagavan describes in Bhagavan translated a work called Drisya Viveka, which is a minor work attributed to Adi Shankara. Bhagavan translated that into Tamil prose at the request of some devotee, and he wrote an introduction to that. In his introduction, he says that we should always practice Sahaja Samadhi. And he explains what is Sahaja Samadhi. That is, he says Sahaja Samadhi, which is always investigating oneself without he says Bahya Antara Drishti Bedam Indri. That means without the distinction in view of inside and outside. It's difficult to explain to translate it exactly in English. That is, Bahya means outside, Antara means inside, Drishti means the view or the seeing. Vedam means the distinction between seeing inside and outside, without even that distinction. That is, the more we turn within, the less the distinction between inside and outside will seem real to us. We will still experience it to some extent until ego is completely destroyed. We can see this in our practice. If we initially we may try and practice just at times when we sit in meditation or whatever, but as our love to try and practice this grows, we don't wait to sit in meditation. We don't have to close our eyes, because even when our eyes are open, even when we're engaged in activity, we are aware I am. So even in the midst of activities, we can be holding on, at least to a certain extent, to self-attentiveness. We can be attentively aware of this fundamental awareness of our own existence, I am. The more we hold on to this awareness I am in the midst of activities, the less the appearance of the world will seem to be an obstacle. Because the world is an obstacle only because of the interest we take in it. The more we take interest in attending only to ourselves, the less this world will seem to be an obstacle. So this is what Bhagavan means by the dissolution of that distinction between inside and outside. But it will completely come to an end only when we merge within. In other words, only when we merge back into what we actually are, then there'll be absolutely no distinction of inside and outside, because there's one and one only. So when there's one and one only, how can there be an inside or an outside? But so long as we rise as ego, we seem to be separate, but what things out there seem to be separate. So, but the more we are facing outwards, the more interest we are taking in things other than ourselves, the more real that distinction seems to be. The distinction between self and others seems more and more real to the extent to which we're allowing our attention to go within. The more go outside, the more we turn our attention within, the more this distinction dissolves. This is why one of the byproducts of following the spiritual path, we naturally become more compassionate. We naturally feel more concern for others because we feel less distinction between ourselves and others. So when we see someone else suffering, it pains us to see them suffering. So if we can do anything to relieve their suffering, we do so, to relieve our suffering, because because we don't feel that distinction so strongly. But a person, now we have reached a certain stage in the spiritual journey, so we are in a better condition now than we were in the past. But long before, we were totally selfish. We cared only about ourselves. We didn't care about others at all. So I alone matter. If I get what I want, that's all that matters. I don't have to care about others. That's the immature ego has such an attitude because it's so strongly identified. I am this. These are all others. So I care only about myself. As we slowly mature, we become more concerned about others. First, initially we're concerned only about ourselves. Then our concern extends a little. We care about our family. We care about our friends. We care about our community. We care about our country. We care about our whatever we identify with, our religion or whatever it is. Slowly, our identifications expand, and so we care about more. But the more we go deep within, the more all these identifications, all these attachments drop off. So we then feel the same love and compassion, but we previously felt just for our immediate family or just for ourselves earlier, we begin to feel for others. So yes, these distinctions are dissolving to the extent to which we go within. They're dissolving because they seem less and less real. Is it clear what I said?
Yes, it is. And as a little further clarification about the turning to the I am, my current understanding of that is that the I am is the awareness being, and that in every moment that I recognize that it is all there is awareness being. And to the extent that I can recognize even what appears as a world or as a body is arising in awareness. So it is all awareness being.
Yes, but we need to understand a little more deeply. That is, the I am is the awareness of our own existence. It's not the awareness of the existence of other things. So that is the base. All the awareness of the semi-existence of other things appears on that. But the awareness in which all these appearances arise is not the pure awareness I am. It is the adjunct awareness I am Melissa. Only when you're aware of yourself as Melissa, or Melissa is just the name of this present person you take yourself to be, whoever the person may be, it doesn't matter, Melissa or Michael or Jody or Ted or whoever it may be. That is, we now experience ourselves as if we are a person. And only when we experience ourselves as a person are we aware of the semi-existence of other things. That which is aware of itself as I am this person, I am this body, that is ego. And it's only in the view of ego that all other things appear. So the awareness in which all other things arise is only this adjunct mixed awareness, I am this person. When in waking and dream, we're aware of ourselves as a person. We're aware of ourselves as a body. In sleep, we are not aware of ourselves as a body, and consequently, we're not aware of anything else. Sleep is a state of pure awareness. In sleep, what we are aware of is I am, and nothing other than I am. Even to say we're aware of I am is not correct. We are aware I am. There's no object of awareness there. That is the state of pure awareness. Pure awareness means awareness, but is aware of nothing other than itself. Contentless awareness, if you want to express it in that way. That is what we experience in sleep. It's only when we rise as ego in waking and dream, but everything else seems to exist. That's why Bhagavan always, in so many ways, he pointed this out. Everything else seems to exist only because we're aware of ourselves as I am this body. And we're aware of ourselves as I am this body because we're not looking at ourselves. We're looking outwards. We're looking away from ourselves. If instead of looking at other things, if we look at ourselves, in other words, we turn our attention back to face ourselves alone, this ego will subside and dissolve back into its source, and everything else will cease to exist along with it.
Michael, quick question about that. About 10 minutes ago, you said it's perfectly fine, probably desired to go to I am, go to the self-inquiry, even the abbreviated version, whenever, and in the midst of doing the dishes. I might be at my desk doing my taxes, and I'll feel that, and I'll say it. I am that I am. Continue adding the numbers, feeling I'm giving short shrift to both self-inquiry and to my taxes. In other words, you're stating that there's value in doing that even though you're not giving either side, let's say, washing the car or self-inquiry, your fullest attention?
At the early stages, certain activities seem to require more attention. For example, when you're doing your taxes, you have to be very careful to get all the numbers right and be sure that you fill in the right boxes. You don't put the wrong figure in the wrong box, because then you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble. So it requires more attention. It seems at first, but it requires more attention. So you are less. It seems more difficult to hold on to self-attentiveness in such activities. But there are other activities you do, activities that actually require a great deal of alertness, but they can go on automatically. For example, driving a car. When driving a car, so much alertness is necessary. You need to be aware of everything, but all that is going on in the background. Usually when driving a car, you'll be thinking about something or other. You'll be thinking about what you're going to do for Christmas, or what's your next holiday, or problems in the family, or problems at office, or we'll be thinking about whatever interests us. We'll be thinking about. So you may drive 10 miles or 100 miles, and when you get to your destination, you can hardly remember anything about the trip, because so little attention you had on that. Your mind was preoccupied with other thoughts. So it instead of all the time we are thinking unnecessary thoughts that are not related to our immediate activity, instead of thinking those thoughts, we could be attending to ourselves. So it may seem, okay, at least when I'm doing my taxes, I'm not thinking of other things because I have to concentrate on taxes. Okay, let it be at first. But the more we go deep in this practice, the more we will find, even in the midst of doing work that seems to require concentration, we're able to hold on to at least a background self-attentiveness. That there'll be Bhagavan sometimes used to say a current of self-attentiveness will be going on in the background. So that is possible. And the more we become familiar with that, the less and less we will feel we have to attend to anything. Because actually, whatever is to be done, if you are destined to make a mistake in your tax return, however carefully you do it, you will make a mistake, because you're destined to make that mistake. If you're destined to do it correctly, even if you're attending to yourself, throughout the time you're doing it, it will be done correctly. So we shouldn't have, so long as it seems to us, but certain activities require more attention. Like there may be certain times when you're driving when you need your full attention, because it may be in a very tricky situation. So other people in the car may be talking. You switch off from that and you focus on this. So you shouldn't at that time think, oh, let me attend to myself, because it will seem to you that you're not doing what is necessary. But the more and more you practice being self-attentive, you will find that you're able to hold on to a background, at least to a certain extent. There'll be self-attentiveness in the background, even when you need to be attending to, when it seems necessary to attend to other things. I say seems because actually, even if you attend wholly to yourself, whatever is meant to happen is going to happen as it's going to happen.
Thank you for that.
That's the thing.
So it's all a matter of practice. Everything becomes clearer the more we put it into practice.
The thing I don't understand is, if we are operating from pure awareness, and so there's no inner, there's no outer, what keeps us from, like, walking into the wall? It's like there's no barrier of where do I, the net starts, In
pure awareness, there is no operating. Pure awareness is awareness that is aware of nothing other than itself. So in pure awareness, there is no body, no world, there's no one to do anything. When we talk about operating, there are three instruments of actions: mind, speech, and body. So long as we are aware of the world, we are aware of ourselves as this mind and body. And so we seem to be doing these activities. So we're not operating from pure awareness, we're operating from ego awareness, the awareness I am this body. So all actions is done only by ego, from the perspective of ego. Because if we don't rise as ego, if we remain as pure awareness, we're not aware of ourselves as I am this body and mind. So let the body and mind do anything. We won't feel ourselves to be the doer. That is, doership is synonymous with ego. Because as ego, we're always aware of ourselves as I am this body. And when Bhagavan talks about body, he's not just talking about the physical form. He says the body is a form of 5 sheaths. So it includes the mind. So any activities done by body, speech, or mind are experienced by us as I am doing this, only so long as we take the body, speech, and mind as ourselves. So all activity is from the perspective of ego. So it's not from pure from the standpoint of pure consciousness that we're acting. From the standpoint of pure consciousness, there is no doing, there is just being. Does that adequately answer your question?
What keeps us from walking into the wall? You know, it's like at that state, there's no awareness of boundaries.
If in that state, that is, the body and world do not actually exist. They seem to exist only in the view of ego. So it's only when we rise as ego, but there's a wall and a body to walk into the wall. When you remain in pure awareness, there is no body, no wall, no world, nothing. There is just pure awareness.
No wall. That's great.
No wall, no war also. So eternal peace.
You know, Michael, I'm sure you hear this a lot, but I mean, it is so radical. It's such a complete departure from the usual way of believing. And yet I find myself drawn more and more and more into understanding.
Bhagavan's teachings are extremely radical. For example, take verse 26 of Uludunapadu. What he says there is, if ego comes into existence, everything comes into existence. Yeah. If ego doesn't exist, everything doesn't exist. Ego itself is everything. Therefore, investigating what this ego is giving up everything. So normally we take this world and all these things to be so real. Bhagavan says they seem to exist only when you rise as ego. That is actually our experience. Has anyone ever experienced a body or world in deep sleep? No. It's only when we rise as ego in waking and dream, but there seems to be a body and world. So though Bhagavan's teachings are extremely radical, it's actually in accordance with our experience.
Yes.
Why? Yes. But why it seems radical, why it seems to us to be something, how can we accept this? Because we are assuming that even when we're not aware of it, the world exists. When I'm asleep, my body is lying in the bed and the world is going on. When I wake up in the morning and turn on the news, I hear all the things that have happened at night. If I ask people, did anything happen when I was asleep? They'll tell me things that happen when I'm asleep. So yes, definitely this world was there even when I was asleep. But supposing in dream, you ask someone, what happened when I was asleep? They'll tell you something that happened when you were asleep. That whatever they tell you happened, they may tell you that there was a tsunami or something. the idea that there was a tsunami, that exists only when you in your dream. When you wake up, you find there was no such tsunami. So it's all that is because what we take to be the truth is what we assume to be the case, not what we actually experience. Nobody, Bhagavan often used to say, if a world exists in your sleep, why doesn't it come and tell you that it exists? Why do you have to ask others to ascertain that there was a world while you were asleep? Do you need to ask anyone to know whether you existed in sleep? No, I slept. I know very well I slept. So we don't need the evidence of anyone else to know that we slept. But we do need the evidence of others to know that there was a world, or supposedly a world when we were asleep. So when we think deeply about what Bhagavan says, it's actually so reasonable. And it's nothing in our experience contradicts anything Bhagavan says. What he teaches contradicts the assumptions we make about what we experience. Because I experienced this world today, and yesterday I experienced much the same world, and day before, and there seems to be a continuity of events. Yes, 2 years ago, this pandemic started. Still, we're experiencing the repercussions of this pandemic. There seems to be a continuity of events. So we assume that even when we were asleep, this continuity is continuing. But this is just because our present life is one dream. This one dream is frequently interrupted by periods of sleep. And the sleeps within this dream are interrupted by further dreams, but it's all just one dream. So the continuity is itself a part of the dream.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable to recognize that our experience, if we just focus, use experience to investigate.
Yes.
That all the clues are there.
They're all there.
Yeah.
But the reason why this world seems to be so real, the reason why it seems to us that the world exists independent of our perception of it, because we now experience ourselves as this body. What is actually real is only I. Because we take this body to be I, this body seems to be real. And this body is a part of the world. So if this body is real, the whole world must be real. So long as we are experiencing any world, it always seems to be real. So long as we're dreaming, the dream world seems perfectly real. Because we take the dream body to be ourself. Because we take the dream body to be ourself, the dream body therefore seems to be real because we alone are real. And because the dream body seems real, the whole dream world seems real. But as soon as we wake up from dream, we are able to recognize, oh, it was all a mental fabrication. It wasn't real at all. How are we able to recognize that? It is because our identification with the dream body is severed. We no longer identify that dream body as I. So the dream body no longer seems real. Therefore, the dream world no longer seems real. But now this body seems real and this world seems real.
It's wonderful.
That's
so this is Maya. This is Maya. This is why Maya seems so real.
That's the problem in a nutshell. I find myself, even to this day, feeling like I'm walking on both sides of the street simultaneously. Maya and Atma.
Yes.
The illusion of life and the only one life there is.
Yeah.
The I am. And it's not only confusing, at times it's disheartening. It is so radical to me, and I've used that word, and my wife will tell you, way too many times in describing this path I'm on, that whenever the rare times, a couple of times, people have asked me to explain where I am in my own spiritual life, it's like beyond my ability to grasp how to adequately try to explain it. But I can't explain it to myself sometimes when I find myself literally walking on both sides of the street at the same time, metaphorically, consciously.
Yeah. When we follow this path, it becomes very clear to us, but we are leading a double life.
There you go.
That is, outwardly, we so long as we're looking outwards, we seem to be a person. And as a person, we have to act appropriately in this world. But when we look within, all this becomes, it all loses its reality. So what is actually real is only I am. Because of our identification with this body, we are superimposing our own reality on this body, and consequently on the whole world of which this body is a part. So that's why Bhagavan always said, what is real is only I. Nothing other than I is real. Other things seem to be real because only because of this fundamental mistake we make. I am this body. Being aware of ourselves as I am this body, this is the root of all problems. And why we mistake ourselves to be the body? Because we don't look at ourselves carefully enough. If we see a rope and mistake it to be a snake, why do we mistake it to be a snake? Because we haven't looked at it carefully enough. If you look at it carefully enough, you'll say, oh, it's just a rope. It's not a snake at all. Likewise, if we look at ourselves carefully enough, we will see that we were never ego. But so long as we look at other things, we seem to be ego. That's why Bhagavan often used to say, what is the cause for all this? Avvichara. Avvichara means non-inquiry. That means non-investigation. That means we are not attending to anything other than ourselves is avvichara. Attending to ourselves is vichara. Because we have failed to attend to ourselves, all this seems to be real. So what is the solution? Attend to yourself. So simple. So simple.
And it is the infinite that is awakening to itself. I guess is one way.
The infinite is ever awake. We who now take ourselves to be finite are slowly waking up to our own infinite nature. When we waken fully, we will see that we were ever awake. We awaken by dissolving back into the infinite reality that we actually are. The infinite reality that we actually are is that which is always shining in our heart as I am. So the infinite is always fully awake to itself. The problem is only for ego.
What an amazing mystery.
It is an amazing mystery. But when we know ourselves as we actually are, all this mystery will dissolve and pure clarity alone will remain. Infinite clarity, infinite, indivisible, eternal clarity. And that is what we actually are. That is I am.
Michael, the ego doesn't really awaken per se, right? It's just dissolved.
It dissolves, yes. What is called awakening is the dissolution of ego.
Right. So it's not like we ever awaken to our infinite reality.
No.
Technically speaking, it's actually
we lose ourselves in our infinite reality. Yeah.
Right.
That's why this term people talk about is this person self-realized? Is that person self-realized? There is no such thing as a self-realized person. Person is jada. Person has no awareness at all. What is aware of itself as I am a person is ego. And ego can never know what it actually is, because when it knows what it actually is, it ceases to be ego. Because ego is nothing but a false awareness of ourselves.
And in the same vein, we don't really see realized people. We're just projecting.
We're projecting, yeah.
We're just projecting and projecting their state if we want
to realize. Those people we project are as real as the person we take ourselves to be. Because this person we take ourselves to be is also a part of the projection.
Right. And the Ramana that we're projecting.
In a dream, we see so many people.
Right.
The person we take ourselves to be is no more real than any of the other people we see in the dream. This person we take ourselves to be in the dream is as much a part of our dream projection as all the other people.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I think you said this before, but the Ramana that we are actually projecting is that aspect that knows the truth, that's being reflected back to us in a person.
Bhagavan said, whatever is seen outside comes only from within. Everything all names and forms are a projection of our vasanas. But the name and form of the Guru, though it is also a projection of our vasanas, the light that is shining through that form, that is our own self.
That's right.
That is the true Guru. That's why Bhagavan often used to say, Guru is what is shining in your heart as I. The outward function of the Guru is only to tell you to turn within. One analogy Bhagavan gave is, he said the name and form of a Guru is like a tame deer that is used as a decoy to capture wild deer.
So to say this correctly, the writer, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
The writer of the dream in which Ramana one day showed up in my life is self. It's from within. It's self writing about self.
No, the dream itself is the one who projects the dream is the one who perceives the dream, because projection and perception are one and the same thing. We are projecting in our own awareness. So our perception of the world is itself that is we perceive the world by projecting it. We can't. There's no distinction between perception and projection. So what is projected is all projected by ego. But through one of those things that we projected, the light of our own real nature is shining. So the name and form of Bhagavan is a part of the dream. But the light that is shining through that name and form, the love and the clarity that we see in that name and form, that is our own real self.
Why are we the lucky ones, the 16 of us here, who have had enough of the self manifest its reality in the vehicle of this dream?
So there's 16 dreams going on, are there?
Yeah, well, yeah. It looks like we're all on the same page, too.
When you dream, you see so many people. Are all the people in your dream also dreaming the same dream?
No, they're all made up.
So what about this? Who is the one who is dreaming this dream? The one who is seeing it?
Yeah.
And all the other people who exist in the view of that one who is dreaming this they're all part of the dream of the one person. So we have gone through countless billions of dreams. And through the course of these dreams, we've been slowly developing spiritually. So we've now reached a stage. We're now nearing the end of our journey. So we're now taking, for the vast majority of people, again, we're talking as if there are many people. I mean, we have to do so, so long as we're looking outwards. For the vast majority of people, or that is for us in the vast majority of our lives, there would have been no interest in Bhagavan's teachings at all. Even the majority of religious people, or even the majority of so-called spiritual people, would not find Bhagavan's teachings very interesting because it's too simple, too radical.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, blasphemy, exactly. So why do we find it attractive? Because we've been through all these other. We practiced all the yogas. We've followed all the religions. We've lived all the worldly lives and everything. We've been through it all, and we've now reached a stage where we've become desperate. having been seeking happiness outside ourselves, seeking happiness in the material things of the world, or in philosophies, or in science, or in religion, or we're constantly seeking happiness outside ourselves and constantly getting disappointed. Because we've been disappointed so many times, we're finally beginning to take interest in this philosophy, but says no. Happiness doesn't lie outside. Happiness lies within. You yourself are happiness. You cannot find an iota of happiness in anything other than yourself. So to experience happiness, you have to go within. So we've finally reached a stage where we are beginning to be ready to accept this. None of us have accepted it fully, because if we had really accepted it, if we really understood this teaching, that happiness is our own real nature, we would stop attending to anything else. We'd attend only to ourselves. So we're only beginning to understand this. We're only beginning to accept it. But at least we've got this far.
This is great.
I have a question.
Yes.
I noticed that sometimes I feel very confident that I'm doing well with self-inquiry and everything, but it's so arrogant, and I feel that the times when I feel really inadequate and not like, I feel closer to Bhagavan and God.
For more inadequate we recognize ourselves to be, but closer we are to Bhagavan. So long as there's an I'm doing very well, I'm practicing self-inquiry, we are not. So long as there's an I to rise and say I anything, that I is what is separating us from Bhagavan. Though Bhagavan is the reality of that I, because we rise, that I that rises is that I am Marie. That is the problem. Only when we feel ourselves to be totally unworthy, when we feel we haven't even begun to follow this path, then only we are ready to truly follow it. Of course, that is, if we really understood Bhagavan, if we really believe Bhagavan, we wouldn't attend to anything other than ourselves, because Bhagavan says there's no happiness in anything other than yourself. You alone are happiness. We all want happiness. Nobody can deny that. We are all seeking happiness. So if we really believe Bhagavan, we would stop attending to anything else. So our belief in him is still a very superficial. It's on the surface of our mind. So we can deepen that trust in his words. We can deepen that conviction in his words only to the extent to which we try to follow this. We try to put this into practice. But if we begin to feel, oh, I'm doing very well, I'm now attending to myself so much, that is, we begin identifying ourselves with something other than ourselves. Because what we actually are is ever aware of itself as it actually is. So Bhagavan's path is a path of subsidence. The means to subside is to try to be self-attentive. But the actual path is subsiding. The more we subside, the closer we are to Bhagavan. Because he is that which is ever shining in our heart. He is that from which we have risen. So the way to return to him is to subside. That's why he often used to say, go back the way you came. We have risen out of him. To go back to him, we have to subside. So the more we subside, the closer we are to him. So there won't even be, when we are really close to him, there won't even be a room for an I to rise to think, oh, I'm doing very well, I'm advancing spiritually. Let alone an I to think, how far am I? How many years is it to go? Am I going to get liberation in this lifetime, or is it going to be some other lifetime? All this is these are thoughts that occur only to ego. We shouldn't be interested in these things. Bhagavan didn't ask us to find out what we will be in future, whether I'll be self-realized in this lifetime or in the next lifetime. That he didn't ask. Who am I here and now? It's who am I? It's the present tense, because we can know ourselves as we actually are only in the present. And we can practice self-investigation only in the present. So long as we feel I am doing well, our attention is going on something other than ourselves. I am alone is true. I am doing well, or I am not doing well, or I'm a sinner, or I'm a saint. All are false. Only I am is true. So that alone is what we should be holding on to. So we shouldn't even give room to the thought of, am I doing this properly? Am I am I advancing or am I going backwards? I am alone is true. Hold on to I am alone. Don't be concerned about anything else. Let liberation go to hell. I mean, we don't even care about liberation. We just want to hold on to I here and now. That's all that matters. Only when we have so much love to hold on to I, then we will find liberation is what is ever present.
Thank you. That is very, very clear. Thank you.
Well, all thanks to Bhagavan, because Bhagavan has made these things so clear and simple, but even dull heads like us are able to understand it. Speaking for myself, maybe I shouldn't say about others, but I'm certainly a dull head. So if I'm able to understand it's only because Bhagavan has made it so simple. But even to say Bhagavan has made it simple is not quite true, because it is simple. He's just pointed out the simplicity.
I got to say, watching Muji in a way has brought us to you. Just this week, he made me laugh aloud, really laugh. There was a middle-aged guy lamenting the fact that he had a problem in his life. He was talking to Muji, and I'm thinking, oh, his girlfriend left him. Pretty much that's exactly what he said was the case. But the reason given by the girlfriend was that she perceived that he had lost his sense of passion. And Muji said, yes, in so many words, I'm paraphrasing here, for the dream, for the fiction of your life, you've lost a sense of passion as you come closer to finding the truth of who you really are. And that resonated, that made sense. And you've said the same thing 6 different ways just today. I'm really glad to hear it. When I get to Sundays in this group, I feel like a car that's running on emptiness coming into the gas station and I need a fill up. And once a month when you're here, like today, I know you're not going to take any credit for anything that's said by any of us, but it just really is fulfilling to have this added boost come our way yet again, which I think is very necessary.
Yeah. Whatever I say, it is almost entirely based upon Bhagavan's own original writings, because it's based on his original writings, and everything that we need to understand is there in his original writings. We just have to understand it and understand the significance of it, the implications of it. Then all our questions, how am I able to so easily answer whatever questions I'm asked? Sometimes I myself wonder, how am I able to do this? It is because I am, by his grace, I am so, that is, his teachings are so soaked in my mind that whatever question may be asked, I'm able to see the answer he's given us already, at least by implication in his own original writings. So that's why, as I say, if anything I say is of any value at all, if there's any clarity in it at all, it comes only from him. Because my mind, I can assure you, is far, far from clear. It's full dense with Vishaya vasanas and so many thoughts and everything. So but any clarity that is there, it's coming only from him. He is the source of all clarity. He is that light which is shining in our heart as I, but is illumining everything. The problem is we are all misusing that light to know so many other things instead of turning our attention within to know the light itself and to lose ourselves in that light.
Michael, on your last explanation, I have to ask, and I don't know.
Yes.
I don't mean any disrespect or anything, but when you're saying these teachings, are you speaking from your mind having read that Bhagavan said these things, or are you speaking from your own experience?
It is very difficult to say. It is very difficult to say, because that if we are following the path of Bhagavan correctly, we are trying to turn our attention within. The more we turn our attention within, the more meaningful his words become. The more meaningful his words become, the more we're able to turn our mind within. So that is, this process is often said to be a process of sravana, manana, nididhyasana. Sravana literally means hearing. So that implies, includes by implication reading. So we read Bhagavan's teachings, but we don't stop with just reading them. In order to understand them, we need to think deeply about them. We need to think of the connection. He says this here, he says that there. What is the connection between these things? Because all his teachings are very coherent. They're all logically tied together. So we need to think deeply about it to understand. It's not just the meaning of his words, it's the implication of his words that we have to understand. So we do need to think deeply about them. The thinking about them is called manana. But the real clarity to understand them comes from practice. So, and the more we practice, the more clarity we get, and then the more meaning, the more implication we understand, we recognize in his teachings. So I can say, all this is entirely due to his teachings, but I cannot say I got any experience, but I've at least tried to put this into practice. I made my attempts to put it into practice may be very feeble, but even my feeble attempts to put it into practice have given me this degree of clarity. So is this book knowledge or experience? I don't know. Somehow Bhagavan has enabled me to see these things clearly. That's all I can say.
Well, thank you for that.
Ultimately, the true experience is where we ourselves cease to exist. Where I am alone remains, because that alone is real.
Sometimes I find that I appreciate that even the name Bhagavan or Ramana Maharshi or the beautiful face and countenance of such infinite compassion and wisdom that appeared that appears in the world. That took a particular form, so as you pointed out, to draw us to recognize what is true. But I find more and more what is even more resonant for me is to recognize that it has no name or form,
yes,
and that it is the awareness being that is already always residing in the heart.
When Bhagavan, in the early days, devotees were saying, oh, Bhagavan is an incarnation of Subramanya, or other devotees were saying he's an incarnation of Shiva. They were thinking in these sort of terms. So one devotee asked Bhagavan, who are you? Are you Subramanya, or are you Shiva? Are you this, or are you that, or anything? The answer Bhagavan gave was, Ariyati Tarajivara Dahavari Jaguhayil Arivairami Paramatman Arunachala Ramanan. Arunachala Ramana is the Paramatma that blissfully exists and shines as awareness in the cave of the heart lotus of all different jivas, beginning with Hari. So he himself has said that by implication, he is not this form. He is that which is shining in our heart as I. And how to experience him as, that's the first two lines of that verse. The last two lines, he reveals how to experience him as such. He says, Parival ulam uruha, heart melting with love. Paranandidu guheyandu, reaching the cave where that supreme dwells. Arivam Biri Tirava, the eye of awareness opening. Nijam Arivai, you will know this. This nijam means what is natural, that which is natural. In other words, that you will know this I am. Nijam is there referring to I am, that which is always shining in our heart as I. You will know this. Aduveliam. Aduveliam literally means it will come out, it will manifest itself. That is, it will reveal itself. So the whole purpose of the outward guru is to turn our attention back within, where the true form of guru shines. So Bhagavan never said, come to me, I will give you liberation. He said, go to yourself, find your liberation within yourself, because you're already liberated. There's nothing for me to give you, but you do not already have. You have to go within to discover it yourself.
That rings so true. But
when our attention comes out, when we see his, as you said, the loving look in his eyes, the beautiful countenance, we cannot help but love him because he's given us these teachings. But when we look at his face, what are his eyes telling us? See yourself, look within.
Thank you.
Sorry, I interrupted you. You were about to say something.
No, just thank you.
All thanks to Bhagavan. I think I saw someone was writing a comment, something. Or Rani wrote, so we are all Jada living corpses, or Seva waiting to become, or Jiva waiting to become Shiva. The body is a living corpse, as Bhagavan said. It is Jada. We are neither this body, nor that is ego. We as ego are neither the body, nor are we the pure I am. We have borrowed the form from the body. We borrowed our substance, our existence and our awareness from I am. So we are a spurious entity. We are neither Chit nor Jada. We are the not that is formed between the two. We are Chit Jada Granti. But if we look within, investigate the Chit portion of this Chit Jada Granti, we will lose ourselves in that. That is the Jiva becoming Shiva. It's not actually a matter of becoming. The Jiva loses itself in Shiva, and Shiva remains as always, as it always is. Shiva is what we actually are.
And is it the I am that gives reality to the world?
To everything. Firstly, I am gives reality to ego. Because the ego has borrowed its existence and its awareness from I am, ego seems to be real. Because ego identifies itself as a body, the body seems to be real. Because the body is a part of the world, the whole world seems to be real. But what is actually real is not the world, not the body, not ego, only I am. I am is Satchit, that fundamental awareness. That alone is what is real. So whatever reality we see in anything else, it's the reality of ourself, but we have superimposed on those things. Whatever reality we see in this ego seems to be real so long as we're looking outside. It's because we have mixed up the reality of I am with the name and form of this body. So what is the way out of this mess we've got ourselves in? Hold on only to I am, because I am alone is real. To the extent to which we hold on to I am, ego will subside and merge back into I am, and I am alone will remain. I am alone is real. And the I am is untouched by the appearance of ego and everything else. Because in the view of I am, there is only I am, nothing other than I am.
And is this why we like our body so much and our sense
because we take it to be I, of course, yes. We have so much love for I, because we mistake this body to be I, we've got so much love for this body. I'm such an important person. We have so much, we care so passionately about this person that we seem to be, because we seem to be this. So to give up, to be detached from the person we seem to be, we need to be attached to what we actually are. We need to be attached to I am. To be free of all other attachments, we need to be attached to that which is free of all attachments. That is I am.
Michael, I have a question about visions. Yes. Like, I mean, I've had lots of different experiences that, and I think everybody here has, where that could be interpreted as, you know, mini awakenings or spiritual in nature or some sort of thing. But usually when I've had those, there's always been this sense of this sense of awareness and a thought process, and maybe some feeling is generated as a result of that thought process. But the other night I had this vision of Bhagavan, and there was nothing but pure love associated with it. I mean, I thought I was dying. I asked him, I said, you know, and before I could even get the words out, he said, not yet. But when a sense started to fade, I said, no, don't let this go. This is the self. This is what we're trying to achieve. But as the days go by, I think, well, maybe this is just my ego playing tricks on me, because I find myself in meditation wanting to recapture that, but at the same time backing off, questioning, where's this thought coming from? And looking at it like, okay, well, this was a gift in a particular moment, not something to be strived for, but something to just an experience. And then I thought, well, maybe Bhagavan's trying to tell me something, and I'm not hearing this right, or is this just my ego talking to me? And I keep coming back to, well, it is just my ego talking to me, but it was so beautiful. It was just so indescribably beautiful. I can't even describe it, which is kind of like, sounds pretty silly when I think about it. But anyhow, so what do I do with that?
Bhagavan says in verse 20 of Uludunapadu, leaving oneself who sees, oneself seeing God is seeing a mental vision. That is, seeing anything that comes and goes is not what we actually are. So long as we are not aware of ourselves as we actually are, any experience we may have of God, whether it's an experience of God, whether it's experience of God appearing in name and form, or whether it's an experience of the presence of God or the love of God or something, so long as we are not aware of ourselves as we actually are, what we are experiencing is mental. It is a mental creation. That doesn't mean it is not of some value. That is, it may be for some reason we are given such experiences. It may be to encourage us, but we should not be satisfied with any experience. Our aim is not to have any experience. Our aim is to know the reality of the experiencer. When we know the reality of the experiencer being ego, the experiencer will lose itself in that, and then there will be no one left to form any type of conception of that. That is, we will be completely lost in that. That infinite light of pure awareness alone will remain. And then we will clearly experience, but nothing has ever appeared or disappeared. What is alone is as it always is, and we are that. So experiences, whatever type of experience it is, it requires an experiencer. So our interest is not in the experiences, but in who is the experiencer. Yes, sometimes we may be given experiences for a certain purpose, but whatever it may be, Bhagavan's advice is the same. To whom is this experience? To whom did this appear? So whatever we may experience, our aim should be to try to turn within more and more to find out who is the experiencer, who am I to whom this has appeared. This isn't to say that the experiences are not of some value. They may be of some value, but they came, they went, leave them. What we are seeking is not anything that comes or goes. We are seeking that which is ever present. That is only I am. Once someone asked Bhagavan, not knowing who Bhagavan is or what Bhagavan is, someone asked, Swami, if God appeared before you, what would you ask from him? Bhagavan said, I would ask him to stop appearing because I don't want a God who appears and disappears. I only want that God who never appears or disappears, who is ever shining. That God is only that God which is always shining in our heart as I. That alone is the real God. That alone is the true form of God. There is no God other than I am.
Well, that raises another question because, I mean, I understand and I buy in totally exactly what you're saying about that which appears and disappears isn't real. And yet, where my doubt creeps in is like through the practice, it seems, and I know this progress thing is like probably not a good word, so I won't use that, but I'll say that we cut chinks in our ego. The ego slows down or the ego stops and gives us a picture of what God is, or gives us a preview of what's to come. Or maybe I'm just saying, I'm talking in circles here with ego bringing up these words again.
Yeah.
But it almost seems like when God comes, he's saying, you know, I'm here. And it restores any, it removes any doubt, or it removes any negative thinking toward that in any way. And so maybe it's just both a positive and a negative. So I'm kind of talking in circles here, and I know that.
Yeah.
But it seems like, yeah, if the ego's unreal and it, you know, as it dies its slow death, maybe we get a glimmer of what it's like when it's dead, and then it comes back to life, and what it's covering up was real to begin with, but it just appears illusory initially.
It dies a slow death in the sense that slowly, ego is subsiding. Its army of Vishaya vasanas are getting weaker and weaker. But actually, there's no such thing as a slow death. Either we're alive or we're dead. So, so long as we are aware of anything other than ourselves, so long as we're aware of anything other than that which is eternal and immutable, namely I am, it is only in the view of ego that exists. So anything that is experienced by ego is finite. As ego, we're aware of ourselves as I am this person. So ego has limited, though the reality of ego is that unlimited awareness, that infinite awareness, which is always what is always shining as I. As ego, we are limited. So whatever is experienced by ego is limited. Even ego's experience of I am is limited because it is limited I am as this person. So the true experience is without any limitation. No limitation in time or space. In fact, no time and space at all. It is infinite and eternal. That is what is always shining in our heart as I. So any experience other than I am is something that comes and goes. Therefore, it exists only in the view of ego. That's why Bhagavan says, seeing God without seeing oneself is seeing only a mental image. Certain experiences may encourage us to go deeper in this path, but we shouldn't be attached to the experience because the experience is anya. It's something other than ourselves. It's come and it's gone. What we should be that experience, what it should encourage us to do is to investigate ourselves. To whom did that experience come? We are not seeking anything that will come or go. We are seeking that which is ever present. That is I am. That is what we actually are.
So it's kind of funny. It's like the ego grabs onto something and it says, this is so great and wonderful. This is God. This is all you could ever hope to experience. And yet it's only ego to begin with.
Yeah. In some of the older sastras, I think in Shankara's Aparokshanubhuti, one of the things he warns against, one of the obstacles, he says, is bliss. That is in the course of this spiritual journey, that is while trying to turn within, all sorts of very blissful experiences may come, but we should not be attached to any of these, because whatever comes will go. So none of them are real. What is real is only that which is ever present. So we shouldn't, even the most ecstatic experience that may arise, we shouldn't be attached to that. To whom does it appear? That this is Bhagavan's Brahmastra. Brahmastra means most powerful divine weapon. To whom is all this? Who am I? This is Bhagavan's weapon. So it doesn't matter what appears, what we experience, who is experiencing it, who am I? We need to be going within deeper and deeper and deeper. This is the only way to go beyond all this, all appearances and disappearances, to that which never either appears or disappears, that which shines eternally. That is I am. That is what we actually are. And it's ever available because it's always shining. It's always there. So who was it who you related a certain experience which you weren't able to put in words, but we all experience some things that we're not able to adequately put in words. But who is it who experiences that? It is that which is aware of itself as I that experiences that. So what is that I? But it takes it, but it experiences as I. We need to turn back towards that I, because that I alone is real. The experience is unreal. So in every experience, there is an element of reality. I am experiencing this. The I am alone is real. The experiencing and what is experienced is unreal.
Michael, just to go on with what Marty says, sometimes we come to an understanding, not necessarily in a dream but maybe in the so-called waking state. And somehow deep down, you know that's the truth. For example, the example you gave today, that grace is nothing but our true nature.
Yes.
This is something that I kind of it just revealed itself to me some time ago. And how do I know that's coming from the reality, or it's coming from the ego, or just a basic understanding from an intellectual point? From where is that stemming? And I didn't even bother to ask anybody because I felt that is the truth.
Yes.
And I was so convinced about it that I didn't need any validation.
Yes, yes. That is, when we are following this path, things become clearer and clearer to us. Because when we are turning our attention within, we are turning to face the original light, the source of all light. So we are, so to speak, by attending to ourselves, we are bathing in clarity, in the clarity of pure awareness. So our mind is thereby purified and clarified. So things become more and more clear to us. But for example, I said, grace is our real nature. When I say that, there is a certain clarity, that idea is born of a certain clarity. But the idea itself is, as soon as we put it into words or put it into thoughts, it becomes something other than ourselves. So whatever clarity comes to us, we need to seek the source of that clarity. The source of all clarity is only that pure clarity, but is always shining in our heart as I. So it does, whatever great intuitions we may get, whatever great clarities we get, whatever experiences we may get, they're useful to the extent to which they encourage us to look within more and more. But if we just hold on to that intuition, that clarity, that thing, oh, now this is very clear, this is very nice, we shouldn't be satisfied with anything. The clarity we are seeking is that clarity that will swallow us entirely. So until we have been swallowed entirely, we shouldn't be satisfied with any clarity that may occur along the way. That whatever clarity occurs along the way, where did that clarity come from? It cannot have come from anywhere other than I. So let's turn within more and more to I. So we have to be very single-minded, ekagrata. We need to hold on to one thing. What is that one thing we need to hold on to? I am. So that ekagrata on I am is essential. So so many things will become clear to us as we're following this path, but we shouldn't be attached to these things. We should be attached only to the source of all clarity. That is I am.
The funny thing about it is that there is no attachment. There's just an awareness that is a fact. And
yes.
I feel like there's no need for me to check it out with anybody. There's no need for cross-validation.
Yes.
It just is.
Yes.
And like you said, of course, it leads to further internalization of the whole process and going back. That's true. But there is no attachment to it.
Right. But that clarity dawned, fine. Hold on to the source of it. That's all. Don't try to hold on to the clarity. If you hold on to the source, the clarity will remain in the background. But what we're interested in is not any particular clarity, not clarity about this or that. We are seeking the source of all clarity. Even say seeking is not quite true, because when we say seeking, it's as if it's something unknown. The source of all clarity is what is always clearly shining as I. So we are trying to hold on to that source of the clarity. Because we're holding on to the source of the clarity, all sorts of clarities may come. Let them be. We are interested only in the source. The source being just I am, ourselves, what we actually are.
Then you reach a silence.
Yes, that source, what we actually are, that is silence. But we will experience that silence as it actually is only when we have been swallowed by it.
Right, and it has to be a 24/7.
Not even 24/7. When we are swallowed by it, there'll be neither 24 nor 7. There'll be ekameva advaitiyam, one only without a second.
Time and space, yeah.
But so long as we are in the stage of abhyasa, of practice, of still attempting, our aim should be 24/7. Yes, we should, every moment of our waking and dream life, we should be trying to hold on to I am.
Because in the
we all fail, no doubt. I definitely fail, but that should be our aim.
It seems like there's a gradual progression of things. For example, I understood the concept that everything is beyond time and space. And one fine day, I just got up and understood the concept of there is no time and space.
Yes.
That there is no yesterday, there's no future, there's only now, this moment that
yes.
I exist. And again, that was another awareness that just came about without, I feel I used to make a lot of effort to realize when I was much younger. Meditated 6 hours, 7 hours a day. But of late, that effort itself has gone away. And it's only after that that I feel there is a better understanding of things.
Yes.
And so I was kind of intrigued by Ron's question and your answer that our effort should continue. But it looks like I'm not making any effort now. It's just an effortless, I don't want to use the word revelation, just a knowing.
Yes, yes. That is, we can't, in a way, it's better not to think too much about these things. The only thing we should be thinking about, that is, our aim should be to think about nothing other than I. As we go along this path, all sorts of things become clearer to us. But our sole aim should be to hold on to I. Whether it feels like an effort or doesn't feel like an effort, doesn't matter. We shouldn't even, is this an effort or is it not an effort? We shouldn't even think that. We shouldn't think of anything other than I. As Krishna says in Gita, Atma-samstam-mana-kritva na kinchitapi chintayet. Fix the mind in self. Do not think of anything else whatsoever. Bhagavan has translated that into Tamil. Chittate anma bil se tidukha ve eduvum itteneum ednidade. Do not think even in the slightest of anything else whatsoever. So what should we think about? We should think only about I. In other words, we should be self-attentive. We should fix our mind on ourself alone and nothing other than ourself. Ourself means, Atma means I am. So we let all sorts of clarities come or not come. We're not concerned about anything. Yes, it's true. As we follow this path, things will become clearer and clearer to us. Things that we thought we knew before will suddenly strike us with a fresh degree of clarity. But none of these things matter. What matters is holding on to I. Ekagrata.
I take it you're saying that as long as we hold on to this attempt to get from here to there, to awareness, that we should not think of ourselves as being a failure if years go by and nothing seems to happen except for the added clarity along the way.
Even if no clarity comes, we shouldn't be, because what is always perfectly clear, but we are constantly overlooking, is I. We are all clearly aware I am. That's the only clarity we should be interested in. Let other clarities may come along the way. They're all byproducts. But true clarity we are seeking is the clarity of our own awareness of our own existence. I am. So we shouldn't think, oh, I've not had experiences, or I've had so many experiences. Neither thought we should give room to. Who is that I who has not had experiences? Who is that I who has had experiences? That is what we are interested in. Investigating I is our sole aim. Who am I? If anything else appears, any clarity appears, to whom does it appear? If any feeling of dejection, or I've not made any progress, to whom does that feeling of dejection appear? We need to, there's a word in Sanskrit, ekagrata. Eka means one, graha means holding, tva means ness. So that one holdingness, that means holding on to one, but one we need to hold on to, but what we need to be one pointed on is I am. That we need to be centered on that which is ever center. That is I am. Our whole mind should be centered on I am. all our interest, all our passion, everything should be centered on I am. Because nothing else is real, so nothing else matters.
Sometimes just repeating I am can become terribly rote, as it is for Catholics sometimes to repeat the rosary, the prayers, the Hail Mary 50 times. You're saying it, but are you really saying it from the heart? That's not what you're saying. I think you're saying to say it always from the heart.
No, yeah, but I'm not, when I say hold on to I am, I don't mean to the words I am. Hold on to that to which the words I am refer.
Thank you for that clarity.
Wait, if I say eat an apple, I'm not asking you to eat the word apple. What does the word apple refer to? That is what you need to eat. So when Bhagavan says hold on to I am, he's not asking us to hold on to the thought I am or to the words I am. Hold on to that to which the words I am refer. Bhagavan did sometimes suggest, even if one goes on thinking I, it will lead to that place. That is, when our attention is constantly going out towards other things, thinking I can be a useful way of bringing our attention back to ourselves. But merely thinking the word I is not self-investigation. Thinking the word I is an aid to bring our attention back to ourselves. The attention on ourselves, that alone is self-investigation.
And Michael, for me, the words awareness, being seem to be a more, for me, a more direct pointer. I assume that is, I mean, it makes maybe less difference what the particular words are, as long as it is pointing.
Yes, as long as it's pointing back towards ourselves, yes. But the thing is, words like awareness, we use the words awareness in so many contexts. People have campaigns to raise awareness about climate change or about political injustice or this and that. So awareness often means awareness of something other than ourselves. The only awareness we are interested in is that awareness I am. That is the awareness we're interested in. So the natural name of ourself is I. Whatever the language may be, there are words in every language that means I. That is the natural name of ourself. That is why Bhagavan often used to say, I am is the first name of God. Because the natural name of God and the natural name of each and every one of us is I. So yes. That is why Bhagavan said, investigate who am I. That is, I is the important thing.
Yes. I think I've been able to come to a point where awareness is a much more, for me, a more abstract. Perhaps a better way to say it is it's the awareness that I am being.
Yes.
It is for me the pointer.
It's yes, but even deeper than that, more than awareness that I am, awareness I am.
Awareness,
that is, it's not awareness of anything. It's not awareness that anything. It is just awareness. It is being awareness. Such it.
Yes. That's yes.
Even to say awareness of being is a less perfect way, because then it's as if being is an object of awareness. Being can never be an object of awareness. Being is itself awareness. Awareness itself is being.
Yes, and yes, I do see that. I see. I used to think of it as awareness being as kind of as two sides of a coin, but it was pointed out to me that perhaps an even, I mean, again, these are just metaphors, but more like a Mobius strip, where really there are no two sides. It is just an infinite one.
It is infinite
Yeah.
one. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes,
And we are that.
yes, yes.
That is
And
what is always shining in us as I.
yes, well, and that is the clue that I coming to Ramana helped me to more fully clarify, to not leave I out of the equation. So
Yeah,
to speak.
Leave everything else out of the equation. Don't leave I out of the equation.
Yes, yes, yes.
Michael, just
Yes.
a question. Even Sat and Chit are in duality, right? It's only in silence we are in the non-dual state.
What the word Sat-Chit refer to is that which is beyond all duality. The Sat is referring to the pure being. Chit is referring to pure awareness. Pure being is pure awareness. Sat is Chit and Chit is Sat. So there is no duality there. Duality occurs only when we rise as ego and see things other than ourselves. Sat-Chit can never be other than ourselves. Existence cannot be other than ourselves, because if existence was something other than ourselves, we wouldn't exist. Awareness cannot be other than ourselves, because if it was something other than ourselves, we wouldn't be aware. We ourselves are Sat-Chit. There's no other. Sat-Chit alone is real. And Sat-Chit is what is shining in our heart as I am. So what the word Sat-Chit referred to is that which is beyond all duality. It is I am.
And don't neglect Ananda.
Then
That seems to
are
be
we
getting
not-
scant attention.
Then are we not give- I'm sorry.
Ananda is itself Sat-Chit. So if you're thinking of Sat or you're thinking of Chit, you're automatically thinking of Ananda. There are three words to describe the same thing. There are three words to describe what I am.
But the moment you describe something, that's an attribute, and
Yeah,
therefore in duality.
That is why the ultimate truth that Bhagavan revealed to us is I am I. As far as words is concerned, the closest we can get to a truth is not even I am Brahman. Because so long as we don't know Brahman, so for us, Brahman is just a word. So the ultimate truth is not even I am Brahman. It is just I am I. Nan, nan, aham, aham. And that is silence, as you say.
Michael,
Yes.
when Muruganar says, among all the gods, my mind is drawn in love only towards Shiva Ramana.
Yes.
To me, when I heard that, I thought it's unfair to the other manifestations of God.
What does he say before that? He says, it is not that I do not know, but all are one. But though I know that all are one, my mind is drawn in love only to the beloved form of Shiva Ramanan. That is, it is true, all the different names and forms, they're names and forms of the one God. But if we go around worshipping, today I worship Shiva, then Vishnu, then Jesus, then Buddha, then Ramakrishna, then Ramana, then our mind is getting scattered. In love, one-pointedness is necessary, chastity is necessary, fidelity is necessary. So we should attach ourselves. So long as we're aware of names and forms, each name and form is different to each other name and form. So we should hold on to one.
Okay, it's like with the metaphor of the bride, it's like being so in love with one man that you don't see the other ones.
Exactly. See the one-pointed devotion of Bhagavan in Arunachakshram, or in any of the songs of for him, Arunachal alone is what is real. Arunachal alone is God. Arunachal alone is good. Arunachal alone is that which is shining in my heart as I. So he was so one-pointed.
Yes.
Because when our aim is one, our aim is to experience the one that actually exists, we need to have a one-pointed mind. If we've got a scattered mind, we'll never know that one which alone is what actually exists.
Yes. And this love is so inspiring. So for us, it's so...
Yeah. If you tell a chaste wife, oh, all men are one, why are you attached to one particular man? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. She may understand all men are one, but she's, to whom am I devoted? I'm only devoted to my husband. That is why that in ashram life, for example, the barber is one of the underlying barbers there is what is called Nayaka Baba. It's what in English is called bridal mysticism. It is the jiva is coming to Shiva. The soul is coming to God. God is the husband. The soul is the bride. And that Baba is there throughout ashram life. And also you can see it indirectly in many of the other verses of Arunachal Stuti Panchakam. Because why that marriage analogy is such a fitting analogy, because firstly because the most intimate relationship we normally experience at a human level is the relationship within a loving marriage. And in a loving marriage, there is only one. That is, you don't see any other, you see only one. So that is a very fitting analogy for the love that we must have for God. And so long as we look outwards, because when we look outwards, we seem to be a form, so God also seems to be a form. Truly speaking, God is not any form. God is the formless awareness that is always shining in our heart as I. But to experience the formless nature of God, we need to experience ourselves as that formless reality, that formless awareness. So long as we look outside, we seem to be a form, and therefore there seem to be so many other forms. So we are devoted just to one name and form.
Yes, and because the Vishaya vasanas are so strong, we need. Yes.
We need to be one-pointed. Otherwise, our mind will be scattered in so many directions.
Yes, and when sometimes you only think of in terms of mechanical, like, okay, I need to do my meditation. But when you have that love, it's like it's fuel for.
It is not about doing. It is that is where when love is there, there's no question of doing. It is just it seems to be a doing because of the lack of love. When the true love is there, we are just delighting in that.
Yes, it's not a chore.
Yeah. I was in earlier today when I was talking in this this global satsang that's going on. One of the verses I referred to is the Mangalam verse that Bhagavan wrote for his Tamil his Tamil translation of Vivekachudamani. In what he says in that verse is that is the verb ends with anisam ramikave. Anisam means always, and ramikave means delight. The meaning of the verse is, so that the root ignorance called I may depart, may we always delight as inner joy in the feet of Atma-deva, who shines without night and day in the heart as I am I. So this is not a doing. This is just delighting in that, being in that, resting in his feet is not a doing. It is just a being. It's just a joyful being. Moreover, what we are asked to do is to attend to ourselves. And attending to ourselves is not a doing. It is a cessation of all doing. Attending to anything other than ourselves is a doing, is an action, because our attention is moving away from ourselves towards something else. So attending to anything other than ourselves is a mental activity. Attending to ourselves is a cessation of all activity. It's a subsidence. As Bhagavan said, if you tedinal autem pidicum, if you seek it, if you attend to it, it will take flight. That means ego will subside to the extent to which we attend to it. So to the extent to which we attend to it, we are withdrawing from all activity and remaining as just being. Summa irupadu, as Bhagavan said. Summa irupadu means just dissolving back into the source from which we rose. Just rejoicing in the feet of Atma-deva, who always shines without night and day in my heart.
And when we lack the love, is it useful to say, okay, like even if I don't want to, I'm gonna try and turn within or something?
It is not only useful, it is essential. This is what Bhagavan is emphasizing. That is, we all start on this path without adequate love. In fact, we don't have adequate love until we have surrendered ourselves completely. So we are all lacking in love. There's a verse in Aksharamlai. Well, there's so many beautiful verses, but one verse which I particularly like. Nesa milenakun aseye kartane mosanchaya daral aranachala. Aranachala, in me who was devoid of love, you created, you gave that desire for you. Nesa milenakun means to me who lacked love. Unase, it means desire for you. You showed me desire for you. That you gave me a taste of desire for you. Mosan saya daralarunacha. Graciously do not disappoint me. That is, you're the one who's given me love for you. Do not disappoint me. So we all are lacking in love, but despite our lacking of being totally bereft of love, he has given us at least an inkling of desire for us. He's shown to us what is that love for him. He's shown us that desire for him. So we wouldn't even be here talking about this subject if we didn't have at least some liking for this. So we all have some small seed of liking that Bhagavan has planted in our heart. We can nurture that seed, we can water that seed and nurture it and allow it to grow into a powerful tree only by trying to turn within. So if we just follow our inclinations are Vishaya Vasanas. Their inclinations go out towards Vishayas. So we are swimming against the current. So yes, in spite of our lack of love, we have to try. And the only way of cultivating love is to continue trying. So it doesn't matter how bereft of love we may be, we have to keep on trying.